Anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is Fueling the Mind, one meal at a time for anxiety. Welcome to the Voices of Victory podcast show. Welcome to the Voices of Victory channel. I am your host, Mario Leone, and welcome back to the show. I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into some conversations today about food and anxiety. We've been talking about conquering anxiety. We talk about it on the show through the mental strength, the mindfulness practices, and all the good little daily hacks that you can do. But what if, just what if, today's episode was right into nutrition? Because nutrition is that secret weapon in our toolbox that can help us deal with anxiety in a healthy way. And I'm passionate about connecting my culinary skill, my culinary mastery with the mind-body connection. I'm a pranayama breathwork instructor, and I enjoy nutrition. And I started my own journey back in the 90s with my culinary mastery. Long before I was a samurai, I decided to take on my chef knife instead of a samurai sword. And I literally cut through that education a long time ago. And what I've learned over the years is that nutrition has changed since the 90s. It's changed heavily since 1990, 91, 92, 93. What we knew then about cholesterol is different than what we actually know now. So my foundations of healthy eating truly landed because I kept up with my education since 1991, 92, 93, those years. And it brought me from culinary school to where I am now. Now, I myself have reversed my own diabetes type 2, and I discovered just how vital food actually is when it comes to fostering your well-being and keeping your mind in a good place, and even that nervous system chatter in your head that's going on. So let's jump right in, because a lot of us out there, they struggle with anxiety, and we get in those frustrating mental knots that get all tangled up. So now we can talk about the gut-brain connection. We can go into all that. But here's the deal. I want to tell you that I've found so many patterns in our nervous system, our anxiety, and food. I found so many patterns with it, just doing massive research on my own. And I continue to do research on my own. And I research quite well, scientifically. So today's recipe of triumph on this show is how food actually plays a pivotal role when it comes to our mental well-being. And let's go into all of the harmony between what our eyes see with food and our gut and brain all together. We're going to unravel this fascinating link between nutrition, the system, and of course, finding some inner peace in your life. So let's cut right through the suspense. And today's focus is on understanding what those little stress triggers are, what those food problems are. Those are the enemies of Zen, the enemy that just makes us more agitated and more frustrated. I'm going to give you 7 of my personal that I know of that I bring in some support for you. And it's going to give you that little serenity that you need. And we have to look at it from a digestive health aspect, our mood stability, and of course, emotional wellness and well-being. Now, some of them you might have actually heard, but some of them maybe you haven't. But a lot of people will either say yuck or ill or, oh, I don't know if I can eat that. And that's the thing. People get a lot of emotional resistance around food, not realizing that they can indeed support you. Now, the very first one that I have today, and these are going to be the foods that actually combat anxiety and the science actually behind them. The very first one is, of course, avocado. Avocado, okay, I like guac just like the rest of you. It would be the most important thing. If I was an alien, I would come down to this planet, annihilate the whole planet Earth, and I'd come for the chips and the guacamole, and I would take it back to my home planet. So why are they so good? First of all, they're very high in magnesium. So we could look at the spinal column as connected to the nervous system, all the nerves, one big bundle of nerves from the tailbone all the way up to the brain, right? We could look at it that way. But they're high in magnesium and they're healthy dietary fat, which is awesome. So we find that avocados can actually promote calmness. They promote cortisol production as well. So if you like those chips with the guac, go for the guac. That's okay. There are other foods out there that you can actually try if avocado's no good. You got to remember, if you say yuck or ill on any of these, there's always alternatives. That's what I want you to understand. If you have questions about those alternatives, hit me up on podbean.com with a little bit of a comment. The second one is fatty fish. Now, I don't eat fish, okay? I am like, no, if it swims, it's not for me, with the exception of maybe duck, but even then, it's a no-go. So salmon and mackerel. So if we look at a lot of the fatty fish, or the fish that actually are caught in cold waters, that's another way to remember it, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which is really essential for the brain health, and it'll calm your nervous system down. Now, if you don't like to eat fish, which I don't, there are supplements, omega-3 supplements for that. Now, it's also helping. It's going to help calm your nervous system. It's also going to regulate inflammation, which is important. Now, green leafy vegetables, spinach especially, is loaded with vitamins, especially A and K, and it really does support the brain cell production. And it supports a sense of mental focus, so you can actually be clearly thinking as a student, let's say. And it's really going to give you that tasty effect that you can have. Now, what do I mean by tasty effect? Well, you can do so much with spinach. That's the beautiful thing. Like, listen, if it worked for Popeye, it could work for you. No wonder why Popeye was so calm to begin with. If you ask who Popeye is, yeah, you probably want to pass on my show. But here's the deal. Green leafy vegetables, spinach and kale. Okay, I'm not a fan of kale because it's in the ocean, but spinach is there, and spinach is loaded with vitamins. And I want you to know that you can do a whole lot with spinach. You could do a whole lot, right? A little bit of spanakopita, right? The Greek hors d'oeuvre with spinach in it. You can do that. I probably pronounced it wrong. Forgive me if I did. I'm not Greek. I am Italian, though. That's close, right? But anyway, let's go from here. Let's go right from here. And let's talk about beetroot. Now, no one likes to eat beetroot because they say it tastes like dirt. A lot of people will say that. Like, it tastes like dirt. Of course, it's a root. What do you think it was going to be, right? But it is a strong source of nitrates, which can help your body regulate the nervous system. Now, again, if you're that person that say they taste like dirt and you don't like them, you could always get the beetroot supplements or beetroot powder, and you could do some smoothies with the beetroot powder put in there, and you could do a spoon or two. It will stain. It usually stains things quite well, but it'll turn your whole entire smoothie red in just a few seconds. Now, it will promote better balance. It is great for regulating the nervous system. So keep in mind, if you don't like the taste of dirt, you can go with the powder, go with the supplement. The capsules are fine. Walnuts, they are shaped like a brain. They kind of look like a brain, don't they? When you look at them, they look like a brain. You're like, oh, gross. It looks like a brain. I can't eat them. They're crunchy, right? It's a little crunchy, nutty thing. Now, if you have a nut allergy, keep in mind there all are alternatives to this. There are alternatives. They also contain omega-3s, but they also are packed with antioxidants as well. It's a nutty little snack. We can get a little nutty. Okay, we get a little weird today. But they provide stability by reducing inflammation. Now, a lot of nuts, if you are a diabetic type 2, I highly recommend, and if you don't have a nut allergy, I highly recommend taking a hard look at putting nuts into your diet and having a nutrient-dense diet for that sort of thing. But on to anxiety. Let's go over to pumpkin seeds. I mean, pumpkin seeds are great, very rich in magnesium, very rich. Now, you can buy them shelled. The way nuts actually work is the harder they are to farm, okay? The harder it is to farm them, the more expensive they will be. That's a reality. So when you buy some pumpkin seeds, if you see that they're shelled and somebody have already given you the pepitas, the little, the inside of the shell, the nut that you actually eat without the shell, then they're rich in magnesium. They're a source of good fats for you, but they keep your gut in a very good, happy place. Now, that leads us over to number 7, chamomile tea. Some people will say chamomile in Italian. So, growing up in an Italian household, chamomile tea. Chamomile, as my father had explained it to me, it grows on the side of the soccer fields in Italy. And it's all over the place. It's everywhere. And my parents used to give it to us when we were kids, and we were all nervous or anxiety. Like when we were kids, we used to have chamomile tea, and we would have it, let's say, in midday, and my parents gave us that chamomile tea, and it calmed us down. It did quite well. It can have like a sedative effect or a calming effect. We've even taken it before bed on some occasions. It's got calming properties to it, and it's really known to be soothing and have those therapeutic qualities to calm the nervous system activity. And ever since then, I swore by it. Growing up with it in the family, I swore by it, and maybe some other, first generation Italian folks might have experienced the same thing. So on the flip side, I'm going to reverse this, and we're going to reveal some of the enemies now. Now that we've gone through all those, let's look at the stress food culprits, the ones that you need to cut down when possible. The very first one, artificial sweeteners, okay? I love when people say, oh, but there's no sugar in here. Look, it says sugar-free. Yeah, sugar-free, salt-free, probably fucking taste-free too, right? It certainly wasn't free from your wallet. You spent the money on it. And here's what I want to explain to you, is whenever we see OSE, O-S-E, in there, right? So if you look and you see like some kind of word like sucrose or sucralose or aspartame, anything with OSE, O-S-E, can lend itself to sugar. Now, also, we have like all, L-O, O-L on the end, like sorbitol, for example. Anything with tol, sorbitol. These things are sugars as well. So a lot of times the package will say, oh, there's no sugar in here. They will say that, say there's no sugar in here. But what they don't tell you is that there is sugar in there. They can't call it sugar. The FDA will not allow them to call it sugar. But if it says sorbitol, then it's a sugar alcohol and it's not classified as sugar. So you can't call it sugar, but it's a sugar alcohol. So guess what? It's got sugar in it, even if it says sugar-free. You can look at sorbitol or one of those alls, O-L, ending in O-L. Look it up. Google it. You'll find out that it's a sugar alcohol in some way, shape, or form. So when we look at the sugary beverages with aspartame, sucralose, they create insulin spikes. And a lot of times it'll say sugar-free, and it's not sugar-free. And you will get a sugar crash. And stress is not this one-dimensional thing, because it will happen. When you're stressed out and you crash, it doesn't feel good at all. It's a high and a low, okay? Now, another thing we could look at is highly processed foods, okay? Breads with a lot of heavy flour, cakes made from refined flour. I cut refined flour and refined sugar out of my diet, and I did that about 10 years ago, and I'm thankful that I did, and I reversed my diabetes type 2 as a result. I mean, those weren't the only things I did, but it's just one of those things. But these are the heavy hitters for the body's digestive system. So let's talk about more of these. And we can go into it from here, is when we look at some processed meats as well. I'm not going to name some brands, but some of them look like it's just a meat case shoved with crap in it in a baked long stick. And you know what? No, not for me. Not for me. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of what it does. Not a fan of what it tastes like either. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is the Voices of Victory. And tune in again every single day. We're always talking about things like overcoming perfectionism, one healthy meal at a time. We get to do a lot of these different things. Feel free to visit my Podbean and support the channel through the Patreon link. Again, I'm Mario Leone, signing off. Culinary Samurai here. Take care.